everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm Diane Deziel and today I'm going to do a grading video. I'll be grading an A-line skirt, so it's a little bit flare at the bottom. To show you the grading of an A-line skirt, I simply use my block and I close the dart, transfer that volume at the bottom. This is what I call an A-line. It could be with a little more flare added to the side seam, but not that much. It's not a half circular and it's not a circular for sure. So I did my pattern and I trace my basic size. Today it's a size 10. I trace it on my paper and I'm going to use my skirt grading ruler to grade. For today's example, I'm going to do a size 2 size smaller on my ruler, and I'll do the same thing for the larger size 2 size larger, and I'm going to do them both on the same paper. Now if you look at my ruler, you will see or notice right away that you have 3 times the same grading on the side seam, and you have another grading here. Again, it's twice the same grading. It's for all the darts point. The skirt is the easiest one to grade, and that's why I suggest that you, if you're new in grading and you want to start learning, grade some skirt. It's the easiest one to grade because only 2 grading points, and also even to trace the line, it's the easiest one. For the style I'm doing today, there's no dart, so I'm not going to use this one. It's only the side seam grading, and I will be using it at the same area that you have or you could see on my ruler. So waist and side seam, hip and side seam, bottom and side seam. Now, since the tracing on my ruler is at a medium size, I would say size 10, and my pattern was also a medium size, a 10, I'm going to place the dot that I have on my ruler, the basic one where you have the trace line, exactly at the intersection of the line that I trace on the paper. I overlap and I just make sure that one of the line that is on the ruler is parallel to my center front of the skirt. Then I'm going to dot both sides that I want to do. So 2 dot smaller, I point, and 2 dot larger, I also point. Then as you know now that there are 3 times the same grading, but still I'm going to use the hip point so it's less confusing. Hip point, on the hip point on the trace line of my paper, I'm going to move the ruler until one of the line is parallel with the center front of the skirt. Then I'm going to point a smaller size, the same color I use at the waist, and a larger size. Now the last point, I'm going to use the bottom point that I will put on the side seam bottom point of the paper. So right there, exactly at the intersection, I'm going to move the ruler until one line or the ruler itself is parallel with my center front. Then I'm going to point 2 size smaller, the same color again, 2 size larger. If you look at grading classes, very often they're going to ask you to use different color. It's easier to see the sizes you have. Today I'm going to use color also. I'm going to be tracing one size at a time, starting with the small one. So I have my red ready. Let's start with the small size. I'm going to take my pattern, place it touching the 3 points that I grade. It should be really easy because you move them exactly the same amount. And you're going to trace a little bit the corner, all the side seam, and a little bit the corner at the bottom. You also indicate the notch at the hip level. Now we have to close both sides. I'll start with the waist. What you have to remember is that from the center front at the waist, you have about 3 centimeter, or I would say an inch and a quarter, that should stay 90 degrees with the center front. will connect softly the waist side seam point with more or less 3 centimeter or 1 1/8 inches from the center front. And you notice that I did use my pattern to trace the curve line. Now we move at the bottom. We'll do the same thing, except here usually you keep it square from the center front for a little longer. I would say 10 centimeter or 4 inches, more or less. And the rest is curved, so we're going to close the line until there, from the side seam to this point. We're done with the small size. I took the time to indicate the sizes. I have the 6. I skip one size, so the 8 would be in between, and I have my size 10. Now I'm ready to do the larger size. Again, I'll take my block and I'm going to place it just like I did for the smaller size, touching the 3 points. I'm going to trace a little bit the corner, the side seam, a little bit the corner at the bottom, and indicate the hip notch. I trace my new side seam. This would be size 14 since I have a size in between here. It would be the size 12. Now I'm going to trace my waist the same way with the same rule. You keep your 3 cm or 1 inch, 1.25 inches square with the center front, and we're going to trace the waist. Now we're going to do the bottom. Again, the same rule apply with the square from center front at the bottom. There you go, the grading is done for the A-line skirt. Of course, if you have your back pattern to do, it's exactly the same way. That's it for today. I hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching, and I see you soon.